Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you're well. You know, there's one thing that I've really developed a big interest in, and that is the idea of the purity and sanctity of our election process. Namely, it is a God-given constitutional right that we are allowed to express our opinion at the ballot box freely and fairly, with no element of deceit, fraud, or anything else of that nature. Now, notwithstanding everything that happened in Chester with the election petition hearing with Graham Moore, that's something that we're going to be discussing in more detail within the coming days. It's very important that people realise this should not be interfered with in any way, shape or form. Now, what's prompted this video is this tweet here. And this is something to do with Andy Burnham, which is a name that's been bandied around over the last few days. Andy Burnham to stand against Keir Starmer for leader. Clive Lewis MP, remember that's the guy that wouldn't swear himself in as an MP properly, has offered Andy Burnham his seat as MP in order for Andy to stand. Now, look what I put. This is outrageous. Parliamentary seats are not playing cards to be swapped between your mates. That's what elections are for. If Burnham stands and wins easily, remember this post. And I'm very clear in what I said there. Very, very clear indeed, because they're not playing cards to hand around amongst your mates. Yes, they are seats in Parliament, but we are the ones that vote you in there. And they have to be free and fair elections. Now, I want to run through the actual news article, which goes through this in more detail. Here we are. Labour MP willing to sacrifice seat for candidate to oust PM as threshold hit to topple Keir Starmer. Clive Lewis has made several comments criticising the Prime Minister's leadership. Labour MP Clive Lewis has said he would be willing to sacrifice his seat to make room for Andy Burnham so he could challenge Sir Keir Starmer for leadership. The Norwich South MP, who has made several comments criticising the Prime Minister's leadership, was asked if he would make way for the Greater Manchester Mayor to become an MP. It's a question I've asked myself, and I'd have to obviously consult with my wife as well as my family, he told the BBC. Well, that's a fair comment. I'd agree with that. But do you know what? If I'm going to sit here and say country before party, party before personal ambition, then yes, I have to say yes and do it. So there you go. When pressed if he would give up his seat for Mr. Burnham, he responded, I would, yes. Number 10 has declined to comment. It is, however, not the first time the Labour MP has suggested Mr. Burnham should replace the Prime Minister. Speaking to the Channel 4 last week, he said, I don't see how this can stagger on without any resolution on the horizon. I think the Labour Party, the Labour grandees, the men in the grey suits, need to know, really seriously think, how do we get Andy Burnham back into this parliamentary Labour Party and let him step up and become Prime Minister? That's my personal view. His comments follow a tough week for the Labour leader that saw the briefing spat and confusion over tax rises in the oncoming budget and persistent low poll ratings. Sir Keir is facing the threat of rebellion elsewhere, as one MP warned patience is wearing thin with the Prime Minister. Senior members of the soft left Tribune group are said to have gathered the 80 MPs needed to put forward a candidate to challenge for the leadership. According to the Times, one Labour MP in the group said it's all about the polls. We can't be below 20% of the polls for much longer. You're a disaster, absolute disaster. The MP added that patience in the Labour Party was wearing thin with the Prime Minister. A source close to the group confirmed it had the required numbers to put forward a candidate for a leadership challenge. Sir Keir warned his cabinet on Tuesday against distractions after days of Labour civil war and budget leaks, Downing Street said. The Prime Minister also issued a plea for unity following the extraordinary brief spat last week, suggesting Health Secretary Wes Streeting was plotting a leadership challenge. His official spokesman said the Prime Minister opened the cabinet by setting out the importance of the government's mandate to renew the country. He said distractions meant our focus shifted from where it mattered most, working every day in service of the British people. Yeah, that old chestnut. So one thing I want you to remember, let me just find it. There we go. Norwich South. I want you to remember that constituency, Norwich South. And if there is anybody that happens to be in Norwich South listening to this right now, you have to ask yourself the question, are you happy with a Labour MP? You have to ask yourself the question, are you happy with the Labour Party? You have to ask yourself the question, are you happy the way England is going? More importantly, you have to ask yourself the question, are you going to come out and try and do something about it? Vote. Because don't you think that with turnouts generally being as low as they are throughout the country, it makes it very easy for people to have their way in positions of power and slot people into seats that they want to sit them in? You know, remember this tweet here. That says it all. They treat them like playing cards. It's very important to understand that this is your right given to you by your ancestors to come out and express your view and who you want to be a member of Parliament. And no one, and I mean no one, should take that away from you. Now, let me put this to you as well. Let's say that this scenario actually played out, and this scenario wasn't just media hyperbole, as it were, and Andy Burnham actually won that seat after all this has come out in the news. Yeah, it would be a rather funny coincidence, wouldn't it? Preordained, maybe, like an episode of The Simpsons. Just a reminder, if you stand in or vote in an election according to the Representation of the People's Act, you have a right to call an election petition if you think that anything has gone wrong with or is not right with the election that was carried out. So if you do live in this constituency, if you are affected by this, then give some very careful thought about what you do next. This is the Labour Party we're talking about. These are Fabians we're talking about. This is political manoeuvring we're talking about. Overwhelm the system. Vote, vote, vote. And ensure they can't have their way. We have to start taking England back. And the only way we can do that peacefully is through the vote. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share my stuff, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Toodaloo.